Oh, doing
If
it,
I
yeah.
would have known you were going to do that, I would have went.
Okay, we're ready.
Who's a better candidate?
Like to call the meeting to order. Those chairs, you please stand for an opening prayer and a pledge to the flag.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you tonight, Lord. We just thank you for the day that you've given us and for allowing us to gather tonight for the city council meeting. Lord, be with each and every one of those tonight making decisions and give us a good, safe journey home. In his name I pray, amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under mayor's announcements tonight, the first thing we have is the Capital Improvements Committee is having a tour of the stormwater project coming up Wednesday. So any council members that would like to go, get with Jim and we can set you up on that. It's going to be about an hour. We're going to meet over at the Public Works Department at 4 o'clock. Go from there if you're interested in going along to see the stormwater project. The next mayor's announcement is Mr. Jim Christie had a birthday on March 22nd. So wish Mr. Christie a happy birthday. How old are you? I'm going with Laura's strategy, 29. The anniversary of my birth. 29. Kind of like 29. Don't go 2 times. Don't go 2 times. No, not quite the 2 times. But almost 2 times. And also, Connie Muller has a birthday on the 31st today, so if you see Connie, be sure to wish her a happy birthday. And Republic Boys Basketball Championship. With the win, Republic enters rare local history. The Tigers become just the 4th boys team from Southwest Missouri area to repeat as state champions, joining Buffalo in the 1964-65 season, Bradleyville in the 1967-68 season, and Joplin Memorial in the 1977-78 season. Republic is now one of the 23 boys programs in the state to win championships in consecutive seasons. The Tigers are the first Class 4 team to win back-to-back state titles since MSHSAA expanded to 5 classes for the 2002-2003 season. So, City Council, Park City Council would like to congratulate the boys basketball team on their championship. So, to see those guys, I'm sure we'll probably have something coming up in the future, so. One other thing on the mayor's announcements, vote, what is that election day? April 8th. April 8th, get out and be sure everybody votes on April 8th. We have some council members that are running, so good luck to you guys and everyone else. I need a motion. No, not yet. We have no public hearing. Citizen participation. Anybody out there who would like to speak on anything not on the agenda, please step forward, give us your name and your best 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is George Fuller, and what I want to do is first start off with a little illustration. I came out to the Republic a few years after meeting my wife at church, here at Meadowview Baptist Church, and we have 3 small kids, and what we like to do is play in the background, have a garden in our backyard, and we rent a house over off Elm Street. And so given that we rent the house, we can't do a lot of stuff with the trees because it's not our property. And on the property, we have apple trees, there's pear trees, and there's a peach tree. And we do enjoy the apple trees and the pear trees, but one thing we can't enjoy, and one way we can't get the fruit is because there's a massive amount of flies and mosquitoes that are infested all over the place. So much so that we have to hire a team to come out to remove all the rotten fruit. And why do I say that? Because I really want our family to be able to enjoy our backyard, our garden. Our kids didn't even get to go outside last summer. And so one thing that I did is I researched chickens, and I'm sure that you're aware of chicken ordinances and things, and that's kind of popular nowadays. And so in my research, what I did was I found that they love eating insects, and they love eating the fruit off the grounds, and everything that they possibly get their hands on from table scraps and things like that. So I thought that'd be an interesting approach. So real quick, what I did was I printed off a map, and this is last summer after we had a break from the mosquitoes and flies and got everything cleaned up. I started doing the research on how we could do that in our yard, have some chickens, and wanted to obey the city ordinance and honor that. And so printing off a Google map, little sheet of where we live, measured my driveway and got 11 feet. And so I thought, well, I'll take that and multiply that by 8. I know it's 88, but the current ordinance says 80 feet. So what I did was I went to the left and the right and behind us and measured out with a protractor that given measurement, and all of the arches overlap our yard. And so given that we live in a neighborhood that's very, very common, it's like cookie cutter houses, I thought, well, this is interesting because it really doesn't allow a lot of the citizens to participate in raising chickens in an appropriate manner according to city ordinance. And what I'd like to do is, I gave Mr. Christick.
Christie. I knew you were gonna forget.
Christie. I call you Jim, but I
That's
don't
all
do
you
that
do.
well, so out of respect to you. But anyway, Springfield has a great resource that I emailed to him. Hopefully he could share it with you if he hasn't already. And they lowered theirs or revised theirs to 25 feet. And that's what I would submit today, that maybe we could consider doing that. Given that it's spring, it's time to start the new little chickens in the backyard. And those that live in areas like mine, with the backyards that are really small, can now be more responsible and get chickens in their backyard and take care of not only problems like ours, but also enjoy eggs, meat that they know where it comes from. It's not overly done up with hormones and things. So just something to think about, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Fuller did send me a PowerPoint presentation from Springfield, 46 pages. I started looking at it, it was a little late in the afternoon, so I'll continue to look at it and forward that on to everybody. And then throughout the day today, we were doing a little bit of research and looking at what other areas do. And suggestion that Ron and I had come up with is we'll gather that information and follow the process that we typically follow and bring it up to the PAR meeting and discuss it there and see what can be done before we move it any which way, so. So we continue to look into this, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on anything not on the agenda?
One question back on this, gentleman. What area of Elm is that?
I live off Debbie Avenue, on the other side of Lynn.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ward 3, yes.
Nobody? Seeing none, citizen participation is closed. A motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda. Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. On to financial report.
Okay.
Guy Rice.
Pretty simple tonight, just where we are with the 1 cent general sales tax and sales tax in general, the fire sales tax and the motor fuel tax collection. Since we have the third month of the year, we've just received the January sales tax. And so it won't be too depressed yet, but it is showing that it is down right now for the 1 month, but hopefully we'll bounce back up after we receive more money. The motor fuel tax, we are slightly up compared to last year, so that's the bright spot, I guess, in this report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Guy Rice? Again, council, approve this at your leisure. If you have any questions, please get with Mrs. Guy Rice. I need a motion to approve financial report. Motion. Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
8-0. Reports from the staff. Mr. Christian. Future community events. Here comes the fun guy.
Good evening. Good evening. Future community events for the remainder of March and on into April. March 25th through May the 8th is Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program. We host that at the Public Community Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. March 26th is Senior Week Bowling. We do it on Wednesdays at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, and 3. May 27th through May the 1st is Toddler Tumbling. You can take it at 5:30 or 6:30. That's for kids 2 to 5. Free registration is required. March the 27th, which is this coming Thursday, is a senior movie. It's Secondhand Lions at 3 p.m. This is a free event. Free popcorn and coffee are provided. March 28th through April the 11th is Todd Academy. It's 10:30 a.m. For ages 2 to 5 years old. That's held on Friday for the Public Community Center. March 31st is Schools Out programs from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's for kids ages 6 to 12. April 1st, we begin all registrations for the Republic Aquatic Center for program registration, facility rentals, birthday party packages, etc. April 4th is the last day to register for youth boys baseball, youth girls softball, and toddler t-ball. We're taking registration for those right now. That's for anybody ages, and kids for ages 3 to 12. All games are played at Urban White, and we begin the week of May the 12th. April 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th, those are Mondays. We have toddler open gym. That's for ages 0 to 10. It's at 10 a.m. at the Republic Activities Building. As mentioned previously, the election is on April the 8th. April 9th through May the 14th is Senior Wii Bowling. We do have some time slots available at 9, 10, 11, 1, and 2. April 12th, excited to announce that we have upgraded our Easter egg hunt thanks to a sponsorship and co-production from Destiny Church. That will be held within J.R. Martin Park from 10 to noon. We are going to have a helicopter drop out to Mapes at 10:15 a.m. That event will all go all the way till noon. 2 different hunt times, 0 to 6 from 10 at 10:30 and 7 to 12 at 10:45.
Not turkey.
Not dropping
Want to
the
make
turkey.
sure
Yeah.
that,
The turkey
comment, not turkey. Are these real eggs, or are they?
It's flat, no.
Okay, kid.
Hey, Derek,
I just get lost.
on the Tatball, the only league rules that I could find on the website were dated from 2012.
Okay, we'll get that updated, sir. Thank you for that. And may not have changed, but we'll still get them updated.
Yeah, it says like May 7th, 2012 is the start date and stuff like that.
Okay, we'll get that. Thanks, sir.
Mhm.
But once again, excited about the Easter egg hunt. We think it's going to be really, really fun. We're expecting, when their crowd and our crowd combined, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 kids over out there, so it should be fun. April 18th, we offer a Schools Out program, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's for children age 6 or in kindergarten through age 12. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gooding. I happened to, hang on just a second, I was up at the community center the other day, I happened to notice you had some things up for the AMP.
We do.
Are those activities set in stone?
They are. We have, as of right now, we have 9 events currently in stone. Announced late part of last week. Matter of fact, we presented them at the school board meeting on Thursday night. Our opening night will be July the 11th. That'll include live music, children's games, et cetera. It's more of a family open night that night. We'll have Dallas Jones out. He'll be singing kid songs and sing-along songs, things like that. We'll have clowns out there for face painting, balloons, things like that, and then we close the night showing Frozen. So, really excited about that night. And the very next night, July 12th, which is on Saturday, we'll have an adult night. We have an adult music, adult band, and then we're going to show the movie Gravity. So, but all that is out on our website right now, theamprepublic.com. There's 9 events on there. Probably won't be a few more, but we have a variety of live music, movies. We have magicians, comedy shows. The Skinny Improv is coming out here twice. We have the company called the Fishing Magicians. Really try to cater a family-style event, but we also have some adult events as well. So tremendously excited about it. At theamprepublic.com, you can get all the details. So.
Real quick, what about the Have a Blast? Is that still?
It'll be there. Yep, and that venue will serve as more with seating for that. Now, we're not going to host the music out of there just because it's not the right place for it, but we'll just be seating opportunity there. So.
And it'll be done by then?
Absolutely. It's supposed to be done by mid-June. We're going to try to give us a solid month there to get the grass established and stuff before we open on July the 11th. It has gotten a lot of buzz. Hopefully it'll be a success. We really put a lot of thought into it, and hopefully the community will respond to it. We had, a lot of the citizens give us ideas for what we're gonna have out there, so hopefully it'll go well.
Thank you very much. Looking
Once
forward
again,
to it.
theamprepublic.com, you get all the information there.
theamprepublic.com.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Board commission and committee schedule, Board of Adjustments, April 3rd, Capital Improvement Committee, March 26th, City Council, April 14th and April 28th, Planning and Zoning Commission, March 31st. And we're skipping old business, correct? Okay. On new business, any motion and second for the first reading of bill number 14-07.
Motion?
Have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental law enforcement services agreement on behalf of the City of Republic with Christian County and Sheriff Joey Kyle.
Thank you, Brenda. And we have Major Wilkerson with the overview.
Thank you. This is an intergovernmental agreement between the Christian County Sheriff's Department and the City of Republic's Police Department. It's quite similar to the same agreement that we established not too long ago with the Greene County Sheriff's Department. Basically the same language. Part of Republic's jurisdiction county, Christian County, as we all know. And we at times get requests from the sheriff or the Sheriff's Department to assist them. And we also respond under emergency situations to assist as well. An example being we often get called periodically from the Billings Police Department or their jurisdiction, which lies in Christian County, to go out and assist them because the deputies in Christian County often have to travel a long distance across the county to get out there, and one of the closest jurisdiction to help them out. So that's basically what the agreement is.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Major?
I have
Yes, Councilman Wilson.
in this, it says, talks about the radios. Who's gonna furnish the radios so you can communicate? Are they on different bands, or are they on the same band?
Well, I imagine what they can probably, maybe Wayne probably knows this better than I do, perhaps.
Look at terrorists, no.
But in here it said, talks about the radios, they've gotta have radios to communicate with, and I was wondering, is that an extra expense, or do you already have the radios, or?
Normally with Greene County, they're able to, what they call patches together, on state one, no?
Christian County has their own radio system, and it is proprietary to Christian County. And it is a digital operated business class Motorola system, so Moto Turbo system, come out of us. A little arm twisting, we got a couple of radios in the fire department, and we use those on a regular basis. To my knowledge, the police department doesn't have any form of communication directly with the Christian County Dispatch Center.
It goes directly through Greene County.
They have to go back through Greene County, which then has to pick the phone up and call Christian.
In this, though, it's talking about radios will have to be supplied one way or the other, so both agencies can communicate with one another, like out in the field. So I was wondering where the radios would be coming from the sheriff?
We'll have a really good answer to
Yeah, I'll have to research it. The chief, apparently the chief and Sheriff Kyle have gotten together to discuss that.
It does give an option that they could either be provided with those radios, or they would be assigned to a particular officer, where they'd be able to have communications either through their cell phone or through dispatch. It would be ideal, from what little bit that I know, and Mark will be able to answer it, because he's been talking to Joey Kyle, but from what I know is that their hopes to get a radio so they can communicate, like Dwayne mentioned. If not, it's gonna either have to formally go through the dispatch center that dispatch us to a particular location, or it's gonna have to be through mobile cellular phone.
Sounds like that would be a very good way to communicate, especially if you got something going on. But this radio business is way down in this.
This is a first reading, correct? So we
Yes.
can ask those questions, that's a good point.
And we'll get the exact answer, but that was what they had talked about, and they are right, it's, the two systems, Green County and Christian County, they don't.
Well, the way we handle it, say we had an accident, an injury accident out on P Highway, earlier today, and it basically went through Christian County Dispatch, Green County Dispatch, and then back to our office.
Yeah, there's like a lot of wasted time
Did-
doing it that way.
Does that, what kind of delay does that create for that cycle?
I don't know that it was a big delay, I mean, sometimes the overall communication gets, Christian County doesn't understand how maybe we do it.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't even sure that P Highway was our jurisdiction, we had to get that confirmed, so they understood that.
And that's on their end?
That's on their end.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Well, they're in Green County, so Christian County talks to Green County, so they get that information correct, but we're able to, we know, you, at the scene, we're able to explain that to them.
Thank you.
Good question, good question. Councilmember Lincoln here.
The highway patrol, are they on a system more similar to Greene County, or, I mean, is Christian County the odd man out here, or are we the odd man out as far as radios?
We're getting the nod from Chief right there.
It would depend on which county you were in.
Christian County is the odd man out, and.
Unless you were.
Well, I just wanna make sure that
But
we're
they
going on
got
the
it-
right track,
They
so.
got their odd man out from Greene County because we were the first odd man out. When we put in the 800 megahertz radio system, nobody else around us used that particular system. So if you're in Greene County, you have that radio communication's great. But for Christian County to talk to Greene County, we've never really had a form of communications that's been real reliable. To answer Mr. Mendez's questions on fire calls, there's a 6 to 8 minute delay. That's how long it takes for the whole process to go through.
Okay.
You can't just pick the phone up and call somebody and say, hey, my house is on fire, come over here. You have to put it into the CAD system that has to tell you how to get there. And the good old days of just getting on the radio when you need help are gone. And so it's a lengthy time delay.
And that's not uncommon with any of our calls, just not.
So whether you have radio communication or not, it's still a process?
On the fire side, we can usually hear them on the scanner in the station, and we'll hear them say, get Republican routes, so we'll start going wherever it is, we need to go Billings or Clever, or whatever. This is where the police side is at such a disadvantage, because they don't have the specialty radio that Christian County uses in the patrol cars. So, you know, if they call in a DWI from Clever and route to Republic, you can drive that in 6 to 8 minutes with all of that. So, you know, by then, it's kind of a guessing game for them. Okay, do I drive down P Highway, or do I set it at 60 to Main and kind of hope that the guy comes through?
That helps me understand it better.
The highway patrol, they have their own radio system that is statewide. You can buy into that system if you want to, but it also does not interface with anything in Greene or Christian County.
Okay. So we have similar issues with multiple other jurisdictions, then,
Oh, yeah.
not, okay.
Buy stock in Motorola.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Councilmember Hutchinson.
Read in the, I think it's a Springfield News Leader about a DWI checkpoint, they had in Christian County recently, and it kind of seems appropriate at this time to ask about that, given that, we just recently joined that DWI task force. And I want to clarify, I'm just going by what I read in the paper, so I may not have all the facts, but they made 1 DWI arrest and 10 different arrests for methamphetamine. And to me, just looking at it on its face, I mean, to me, that's concerns that, about the Fourth Amendment issue of checkpoints. I mean, was, are you familiar with that particular incident? I mean, is that something that happens commonly in Christian County?
That happens commonly at all the checkpoints, is that, you know, primarily you're there to check vehicles for possibility of a driver being intoxicated, whether it's through smell or other factors. And if you do that, and once you make an arrest, or once you have them out of the car, and once you do your investigation, and you find other violations, you can act upon those violations, whether it's a driver's license violation or drugs. In some cases, when they make arrests for DWI or other alcohol violations at a checkpoint, then they do their inventory searches of the vehicle, and that's when they come across drugs. When they search the individual, they come across drugs.
Well, I know Sheriff Kyle, and I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm not disparaging him at all. I want to make that clear, but it just, you know, I think a DWI checkpoint is a fine line on constitutionality, and the fact that they're having a DWI checkpoint and they're pulling 10 meth arrests, which is a very, I mean, grave concern, meth, but I mean also as concerns us participating in a DWI task force.
But
that might, I mean, it reads a pretextual roadblock, which are a violation of the Constitution.
I'm gonna stop this right here. We're way off the agenda items.
Okay.
If, I'd say you two get together after your meeting and discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Major Watson? And this is a first read. If you do have any questions, please get with Major Watson or Chief Lowe, or Ron Derrickson, or anybody you feel you'd like to talk to about this. Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
Need a motion and second for first reading bill number 14-08.
Motion? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending Chapter 130, Republic City Code Municipal Court, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 130.150, duties of the city's prosecuting attorney, by adding language providing the option to contract for public defender services as needed.
Thank you, Brenda. Mr. Good.
Okay. Reason we brought this up is we're obviously growing, and at some point we need to have the option to address this. And I ran past the mayor and Jim, and they felt like it was appropriate to bring this forward. Right now, basically, we have a penalty provision of up to $1,000 fine and up to 90 days in jail. However, without having a public defender available, I basically waive jail time on everything, because if you don't have the public defender option, then you can't realistically ask for jail time. And probably since I've been here in 2005, there probably have been a handful of cases where I would have felt like I needed to ask for jail time. Where it really becomes an issue is with the judge. We have some defendants who know the system, and they will continually and habitually refuse to pay, and they reappear and reappear and reappear in front of the judge, and it's not a realistic option for him to put them in jail for failing to pay as a indirect contempt of court. Because again, if you're going to do that, you have to be prepared to provide them with a public defender if they qualify for that. So I talked to our new judge, and he's very supportive of this and would like to see something like this done, so that he can deal with those people who, and there's probably a half a dozen to 2 dozen of them that just, you know, there's scofflaws. They're just not going to do what they're supposed to do. And with this, and if there were some funding, the judge could say, okay, because you have failed to do your community service, or failed to do your programs, or failed to pay your fines, I'm going to cite you for indirect contempt. And then if they say, well, I want an attorney, then this would give the judge the option of appointing an attorney so that he could consider jail time, because it's not going to do any good to give another fine. They're not paying their fines potentially right now, or or they're saying they can't afford to do community service, or they can't afford to do their program.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Derrickson? Lincoln here.
Where would that pool come from? Are there a pool of public defenders like in Springfield that they pull, or would they?
Well, if you want to use what Springfield does is, when I was there as a prosecutor, they had 2 public defenders on contract that they paid for providing public defender services. Obviously, I don't think if we started this tomorrow, I doubt if in a year we'd do a half a dozen or 2 dozen of them. So it's not going to be a big moneymaker for anyone, but I'd say one person we could contract with, either through a process of taking applications or choosing someone locally that would be available in court on fairly short notice if you needed it.
So that's what it is, we take applications, you don't take, I guess for lack of a better word, bids or whatever, where someone wins a contract for a year and that firm gets them for that year, or similar to that?
We really haven't talked about how we would structure, I mean, that's
So this
all up in
is,
the air.
all this is just stating is that we'd have that as an option, and then we'd have to come back with how to do it?
Yes.
Gotcha.
At this point, Jim and I talked about it, under his authority, he's got contracting authority up to $5,000. So if we were to decide we needed to do this, that would probably be the limit without bringing it back to council.
Sure.
What we would see in the future is like during budget talks this coming year, bring the issue to council and say, do you want to put some money in for this service or not? And it's up to council to either decide to fund it or not.
So right now, if it happens tomorrow or whatever, Jim would go out and look for someone to fill the spot, and then they reschedule the hearing or whatever with that.
Right. And if we did that, then that would probably be a till the end of the year type deal to see if council did in fact fund it for beyond that.
I'm surprised I didn't know we weren't already doing that. You'd think with the threat of that being available, taking that off of the table for the vendors would be helpful, them knowing that there's, that loophole where we can't assign it anymore. I mean, it might take 1 or 2 times using it before that word got out, but that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, just out of curiosity, what's the anticipated expenses to do something like that versus like having a person on staff? Is there,
I think right now, I think there may be 1 or 2 cases out there that could qualify for this if everything would have fallen together possibly. And I would anticipate this is more on Ron's way, but just my own mind thinking if we had, contract either on a per case or per hour basis, I'm thinking maybe between now and the end of the year, we may have $1,000 of expenses. I think it could be more than that, as we ramp up the program, and I think we need to come up with something more formalized next year, which as Ron said, we bring at the budget meeting, but to fill the gap for the remaining part of this year, I'm thinking we're gonna be in $1,000 range, which has not been budgeted. Of course, we didn't think of this at last budget time, but now that we have that, it's not gonna break the bank by any means.
I had Springfield send me a copy of their contract that they had with their public defenders, just to see how they had it set up. And really, the rates are fairly reasonable, so it's not out of the question if we have similar rates to what they were able to negotiate, that $1,000 might cover it for the balance of the year.
thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Garrison? Again, this is the first read. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact Mr. Garrison. Under other business, resolution number 14-R-18, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the execution of a contract with Olson Associates for the preparation of preliminary design plans for municipal SCADA system improvements. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Rock.
Good evening. One of our budgeted projects this year is the replacement of the SCADA, or control and data acquisition system, for municipal water system. The program we have now was built essentially when well number 3, or well number 5 was constructed in 1993. It is an antiquated system. You think of a computer that you might have owned in 1993, that's the state of it. Programmable, read-only memory chips, modems, lots of digital to analog conversion. And over the past several years, we've had a lot of difficulty in replacing parts. Very susceptible to voltage surges, and we may get a modem or a piece of that damaged, and it's always a toss-up as to whether the manufacturer has those parts around anymore. We tend to hoard those when we do find them. However, as I mentioned before, this is a budgeted expense that we have to replace the system, and we have negotiated a preliminary design contract with Olson Associates. John Forrester is here tonight, and ask John to come up and help me with this, if he would. We originally looked at trying to come up with an engineering contract to get us all the way to a set of construction documents, and pretty quickly realized that there were a lot of unknowns at this point, a lot of decisions about the type of equipment, the type of software, the type of programming, and so it made sense to break it down into a more manageable chunk in which we could define what the scope of work would be, and appropriately what the compensation would be for Olson Associates. We're very confident that we have a good team that's lined up to work for us. John, of course, is intimately familiar with all of the water system construction that's gone on in town, and Olson Associates has a team, just I would call that a team that specializes in this sort of design work. Maybe say a couple words about where we're nuts and bolts of what we're going to try and do.
Well, like David says, the system we have has seen better days. I mean, it was very good when it was put in, but as things evolve, it needs to be updated. It's hard to find support, and the new system that we're looking at is, where we're looking at going on this is getting to the point where we can define what hardware we're going to need and what software we're going to need. Now, I'm not a programming person, so it will take long to go to my head talking about that stuff. But I know that what we're looking at doing is going with a combination cell-based and fiber-based communication system, which right now everything is through the telephone lines. We've had some issues over the years with some of the communications. You have a monthly charge with the phone lines. And I don't know if we really had it here, but we've had sometimes in systems where somebody will break into that phone line and make a phone call and engage your controls or your pumps or stuff. And so going and getting into a cell-based system is really more state-of-the-art. It's very reliable. You've got good service here. And so that's the communication mode that we're looking at. Another thing that we're also going to do is start investigating replacement of some of the hardware at the wastewater plant in this. The Wonderware program out there is, 12, 13 years old. There's a desire to locate the hardware over in the basement of the police station for protection in case of an emergency. If a tornado came through and took out the control building at the wastewater plant, the whole means of controlling how that thing operates is gone. And so we're looking at relocating that control panel over into the police station. Guess that's okay, isn't it?
I do want to mention that part of the contract does include some of the wastewater component. Our big pump station, Sugar Creek Pump Station, has got, we have some communication back and forth with that pump station. It is over commercial telephone lines, and generally we want to see the water and wastewater controls work together. try to utilize the same type of software, the same type of programming, so that, at some point in the future, we foresee our own staff having to, or being able to minimize the amount of knowledge they need to work on one system or the other. So we do have a component in this contract to upgrade the Sheila Creek pump station and incorporate that with a similar type of telemetry.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Forrester. Any questions for David Brock? Or do you have something to add, John?
I just do want to add one thing. I just want to make sure the council is aware, inside the resolution, on these types of projects, we would sometimes normally go out and bid these type of projects out. We do have the option, council has the option to override that and not go out for the formal bid process and just go directly with specified contract with, in this case, with Olson Engineering. We talked about it. This is so specific and so detailed, and the amount of knowledge and experience that Olson and John has in our system, we thought was an overwhelming decision maker for us, that we needed to stick with John and John's expertise and Olson's expertise to make sure that we get the product that we want at the end. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we are asking this council to forego the formal selection process and go strictly and directly to Olson Engineering for these services.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brock, Mr. Forrester, or Mr. Christie? Yes, Ms. Quinker.
Have we looked at studies or anything on the hard line versus the wireless? What I've seen, the hard line has always been the ideal choice, especially if it's buried. And, I mean, a wireless is a great backup or, you know, an extra incentive, but are you talking about replacing the hard line with a cell-based system that if there is weather-related, or the cell towers seem to go out a lot more than what you'd have in the ground line go out?
I guess 2 points to try to respond. Number one, we're going to utilize as much of the existing fiber network as we can, and that is really will cover our downtown offices, the wastewater plant, and where our server will be based out at the police station. It's our satellite facilities that don't have fiber optic readily available. If we have a small breach, small gap to get the fiber optic, we'll add that in. And that changes daily. A year ago today, well number 4 out on Highway 174, we were a mile away from fiber optic. Today, it's on the other side of the road. So we want to use those hardened facilities where we can, and primarily for the reason you mentioned. Now, the other aspect of it is the data transmission come in bursts. This is not going to be a lot of data transmission, and so there is some expectation, I guess, that those will, even though you might not be able to make a cell phone call, that those data transmissions will still be able to get through, if it's really just heavy loading on the system. The cell towers are down, as you mentioned, there would be a blackout, so to speak, on the data.
One thing that you have, though, is each site will have its own little PLC that can operate independent of itself in case of an emergency.
Sure.
And be controlled by, like, the water level in the tank. But that, you know, if you've been involved been around when there's been emergency of some sort, and you try to get service on your cell phone, you can't, but you can text message during that time frame. And that's similar to the data transfer you get here.
Thing was just totally the statement that the wireless was going to be an upgrade from the hard line, and I've never heard that statement before. I understand if we don't own the fiber, there's obviously a much greater cost for as little as bandwidth is probably going across it. There's probably a huge cost to have that connection out there versus what a cell data, you know, card would be.
There was a big change with AT&T, late 90s. We used to be able to rent what was called a dry pair. It was a pair of copper lines, $12 a month. They relabeled them or redesignated them as data lines right at the turn of the decade, and now all of a sudden they're $60, $70 a month. And there certainly are a reliable, in most cases, I would say, we have had difficulties. I know Schuler Creek, we've lost, had a break in the line on a number of occasions. Same with the water system. You'll have a malfunction somewhere in the phone system, and it really is, I think I mentioned in my exhibit, it's a bureaucracy because it's not the norm with AT&T. And so generally what you have is a 3-day process where you spend 1 day getting a technician to respond, you spend another day educating him on how it's tied in and where, and then hopefully on the 3rd day, they'll start on the repair. So, I mean, durability, certainly agree with you there, but just the bureaucracy, AT&T, and the headache that can involve, I think we're gonna have to look at a trade-off there.
Well, thank you, I'm glad you guys looked into that side of it, that's just me.
Mr. Baker,
So this is just an estimate of what we can and cannot do as far as, and then basically, the deliverables that I read from this, they're just gonna give us a package and say, here's the cost estimates to do the things we're talking about here, right?
We should have a definitive idea of the types of equipment and even down to specifying, makes and models.
Okay.
And I think as John,
Hardware and software,
John
yeah.
mentioned, it gets us to 30% of a full set of plans and specs, but to get to that 100% is a smaller step, financially. So our contract cost here, $21,700. We would anticipate the follow-up contract to be in the range of
15 to 18,000 to take it to 100%.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is to basically determine what you want, integrate it into the existing system, specify, get it down to where you know what hardware and what software you're going to need, and which is, it's beyond the conceptual design, it's over into the preliminary design.
It's basically like detailed requirements, making sure there's no gotchas, things of that nature.
Right. One of the areas we want to improve our performance on is what I would call project creep, and that is you negotiate a master contract for a design, and halfway through, somebody comes up with an idea that, hey, we'd like to do this, this, or this, and you spend 3 weeks beating the bushes and have to come back with a contract addendum. Now we want to add this component in. So one of the things we want to avoid, or know from the start, is this is precisely what we want to do.
And I'm familiar with that model, so I think this is a good thing. Thank you for explaining it.
any other questions for Mr. Brock or Mr. Forster? Was it the budget line that I missed that?
It is, yes, sir.
Budget. Okay.
Do we need to make a motion, or do we just, is it already set in the ordinance and we just accept it?
It's set in your consent resolution.
Resolution,
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Abstain. Motion carries 7-0-1. Thank you, gentlemen. Resolution number 14-R-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing improvements to Farm Road 160. Any motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Brock.
I'm going to pass around some photos here. This is a resolution for the council to authorize an unbudgeted project. These would be improvements at the intersection of, improvements to Farm Road 160 at its intersection with State Highway MM. One of the things that we have been dealing with in the last couple of years are semi-tractor trailer trucks that are trying to negotiate farm roads in and around the McLean building. And there seems to be a lag in the commercial GPS systems updating their displays and directions. And since McLean is on a newly renamed road with a relatively newly assigned address, the GPS currently are not providing with the truckers with a good routing to and from the building. So we're seeing trucks on roads that really weren't designed to carry those vehicles. And this intersection seems to be bearing the brunt of it. The cover photo on that packet there is from a dash cam of a Republic officer who had to babysit a truck for a couple hours until a tow truck was able to arrive and pull him out of the ditch. And so this resolution would have the council authorize the staff to go in and widen the turning radius on those, at that intersection. We're estimating a maximum expense of about $17,800. The bulk of that is our labor and equipment use. We think our, even though labor and equipment use, that's checks that the city has to pay, the unbudgeted portion, so to speak, would be our materials at an estimated cost of about $5,500. Essentially, we would replace the stormwater piping out there and then build up the edges of that. It's a bit of a balance here. I guess the goal or the intent, we want to make improvements so that the trucks no longer get stuck. We're no longer damaging the surface of the road out there, but we don't want to make it so large as to be inviting to the trucking or to the truckers or appear that that's the route that they need to go. So we think we've walked that tightrope with about 40-foot turning radius, and are recommending that the council approve this project.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Any questions for Mr. Brock? Mr. Wilson?
Would it be on both north and south side of the road?
Yes.
Has the neighbor on the south side been complaining?
He has been complaining, yes. He keeps a pretty tidy yard over there, and we've gone over the scope of the project, and we have his support.
He's put boards and bricks out there trying to keep him out of his yard.
Any other questions for Mr. Brock? You said this wasn't budgeted. Where is the money coming from?
Generally, if we take them on a new project, our manpower, our equipment use, it gets deferred, because another project is gonna get pushed back by an equal amount of time. So we don't think overall our personnel costs or our fuel expenses or equipment repairs, we think we'll end up in the same place at the end of 2014. The one difference might be these additional materials that we purchased. And rely on our finance director here. We're in real good shape, I think, in our street department. We have a pretty healthy balance. We'll monitor our other expenses over the year, and if it rises to the level of requiring a budget amendment, then Ms. Guy Rice would bring forward a budget amendment to formally make that correction.
So you're responsible.
That's right, it's in my hands.
You want Danish with your comment?
Any other questions for Mr. Brock? Nothing? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0-0. Resolution number 14-R-20, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the execution of a contract with Blevins Asphalt Construction Company Incorporated for specified asphalt paving. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Brock again.
Thank you. Two of the projects that we ran out of construction under on last year were the South Dogwood stormwater and street resurfacing and new parking lot at the Hines and Bailey Street Park. The last several years, we've used an intergovernmental agreement through Greene County to do asphalt work. That is progressing very slowly at Greene County. They are rebidding that work. They're reforming their bid documents, and we don't expect to see the results of that bid for at least another 60 days, possibly 90 days before we can actually sign a contract. So we wanted to get those two projects wrapped up as quickly as we could this year, and have devised a means to utilized last year's, or some components of last year's IGA with Greene County, and utilized the same contractor, and with the exception of a small increase in unit pricing, the same terms and conditions. So this resolution authorizes a contract directly with Blevins Asphalt. That's who was assigned our area through Greene County last year. I mentioned before, it does include a 4% increase in the per ton pricing for asphalt work, and they've asked for that because the primary difference here is they're gonna have to provide the city with our own insurance certificates, our own performance and payment bonds. That 4% equates to about $1,200, which, in our experience, is probably a little bit less than it's actually gonna cost them to go out and obtain, insurance, performance and payment bonds. So this is a contract that's project specific, allow Blevins to pave South Dogwood Avenue. That will allow us to go out and finish up. We just have some dirt work left to do, surface restoration, and then we'll prep that parking lot on Bailey and Hines and get that paved. Estimated, it is unit pricing, but our estimated project cost, about $34,500, $6,500 of that would be the parking lot at the park.
Thank you, David. Any questions for Mr. Brock?
So are you talking about Dogwood between Elm and Rosewood?
Yes, sir.
That street?
Yes.
So it will cover the entire street? Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Brock?
And when did you say that was scheduled to be done?
Dogwood should be done in the next 30 days, and Bailey Park would probably be 30 to 45. Blevins is also the contractor that's gonna do the MoDOT repaving on Highway 60. And so what we expect is there's gonna be a rain day that they'll miss paving at night on Highway 60, and we'll be able to knock our stuff out pretty quickly, but no longer than 45 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Mr. Brock? Thank you, Mr. Brock. All in favor of passage of resolution number 14-R-20?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Resolution number 14-R-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding the bid for the production of a fireworks show at the City of Republic's 18th Annual Adult Blast Patriotic Celebration scheduled for June 27, 2014 at J.R. Martin Park. Need a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second. Mr. Keeling.
I do apologize for the small print. Come off the copier, I was like, wow. Sorry about that. I could definitely summarize some of those for you, so you don't have to get into the minute details of them. I do apologize for the small print. We do this each and every year. We bid out fireworks for as part of Paddle Blast, which, by the way, this year will be held on June 27th, Friday evening, J.R. Martin Park. As many of you know, in the past, we've, since at least 2005, we've chose AM Pyrotechnics for, to shoot the show. Been really, really pleased with them all the way up through 2012. 2013, did have some issues with the show. I followed up with, Aaron Mayfield, the owner of the business, the following morning, let him know that I was not pleased with the show. He looked at the matter, got back to me, and it all pretty much had to deal with a miscommunication on the duration of the show. I had specifically requested, I thought we had enough product for about a 15 to 16 minute show. For whatever reason, when the shooters went to shoot the show, it lasted 20 to 21 minutes. That really kind of made for, kind of a longer type, one shell in the sky type show. Was not pleased with that at all, and I voiced my displeasure with him. He has made every single effort he can to make things right this year. I do appreciate that. When you look at those two comparisons and two proposals, there really is no comparison. AM Pyro is locally, is a local company based out of Buffalo. They manufacture the overwhelming majority of their products, where a company like Premier has to import from China. if you actually do the math of the shell counts, for the shells that really matter for a 3 to 6 inch shell, you're looking at 507 for Premier, and 1342 for AM Pyro. One thing we did last year, and we have done with AM Pyro every year we've used them since 2005, is they do normally request a full payment up front. We normally have honored that. However, this year, due to the issue we had last year, we've worked out a deal to where we're only going to pay them $7,000 up front. We're going to withhold $2,000 till we view the show, and he has totally agreed to all this, and if we're pleased, we'll do the remaining $2,000 payment. But it will certainly be my recommendation, once again, to go with AM Pyro. Once again, we've had great shows all over 2012, wasn't particularly pleased in 2013. He has added, and I have all this in email, he's added about 23% more shells than he had last year, and that is all to make up for that miscommunication last year. So I don't know if to the average person, if they really even noticed the difference in the show. We did get a lot of complaints. Some may have, some may not, but I really, really think this year will be nailed, so.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Keeler? Mr. Klingenberg?
I missed last year, I've seen most of the other ones. Was there a lot of time in, like, lots of empty time in between shots? Was that
Yeah,
the?
and more of one shell at a time, maybe an occasional 2 shells at a time, where our shows, and Dwayne can attest to this, in the 2009 through 2012 era, I thought they were over like 3 different times, and they just kept going and kept going and kept going. Last year, I wanted it to be over. I mean, it was it was slow.
Well, and I don't mind a long show, but you can't have,
Right.
to make it long, you can't have 1 minute in between every shot.
Right, exactly right. And this year, we have about 23% more shells and about 4 minutes less time, so it should be entertaining.
Yeah, the other thing I noticed is there's, I mean, I don't know what percentage of people are in the park versus up and down 60 and Price Cutter, and we sit at Walgreens sometimes and things like that, but if you get too many of the small things, that long amount of time in between, it appears that way from everybody outside the park, because they can't see because of the berms and trees and things like that. It's important to have as many of those larger shells that go up a little higher as possible.
That's exactly
The
right.
bigger the Republic gets, this is going to become more and more of an issue, and I was wondering if that might be part of it too, is that if you shoot too many low, you know, we'd see one go up high, and then it would be, you could hear things going, but you were missing it all because it was in the park. And I know that because of where we park, there's a ton of people that park up and down all the, you know, roads and sit in businesses along 60 and things. So getting too many short ones would be an issue too, that we need to watch.
A lot of companies will pack their proposals, and Premier did it some, but I mean, AM Pyro has it too. They pack it with cakes, which is smaller type shells, where you really get the large whatever, or you're in 5 and 6 inch shells, and Aaron has it absolutely packed with 5 and 6 inch shells this year. Not to say that the ground stuff and the lower stuff, they do have some merit. If you're on the ground, they look really cool. But if you're out there and about, and the community's about, like where the mayor lives, I know he says he can see it from his house every year. Those 5 and 6 inch shells are the ones that, and plus they make a huge boom if you're right in the park too, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, as the city gets larger, only so many people can fit into the park area,
Right.
so, it's nice to be able to have something that, I mean, you don't want it to be 5 miles away, but I mean, even just, you know, a block, you know, like I said, right there at like McDonald's, Walgreens, that area, you know, it's nice to be able to watch from there.
In 13, which is last year, and Dwayne can attest to this, we were busier early and a bigger crowd than we've ever had last year, and hopefully that will, hopefully the show last year didn't deter any of those folks from coming back this year, but, I think we've done enough with AM Pyro to make sure we'll have a really quality show this year. I just hope everybody comes back to see it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Keeler? So if I take this, you're asking that we approve the AM Pyrotechnics, and need a motion?
That's correct, and Ron, I left the resolution blank, so I'm not gonna.
Need a motion to insert AM Pyrotechnics.
I'll make the motion to insert AM Pyrotechnics as the choice.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries to accept AM Pyrotechnics into the resolution. If we have any questions, we need to discuss anymore? Want to discuss anymore? You may have any other discussion points. Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
No.
No. I need, I'm sorry. All in favor of the passage of resolution number 14-R-21?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0-0.
I do think we should stage a competition for UNA and Power Tech.
Well, that would be great.
You can show off your skill.
It might result in bodily injury, but. Once again, for your reiteration, June 27th, Friday night, June 27th, have a lunch.
Be a good time.
Thank you.
Resolution number 14-R-22, a resolution of the City of Republic, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing payment to Missouri Rural Services Workers' Compensation Insurance Trust for coverage for 2014-2015. A motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
Motion and a second.
And it's on me. This is, our annual request to approve our workers' compensation insurance. As in years past, we have been utilizing Missouri Rural Services, for our workers' compensation insurance. This year, the proposal came back at about 6% over what last year's premium is. The invoice amount is $146,265. Last year, the same identical, policy was $137,712. We are seeing like all insurances, we are seeing the costs increase. In this particular case, 2 years ago, in the 2012 and 2013 policy, we were at $118,507. So like general liability coverage, this is not decreasing either. Some of the increases that contributed, or some of the line items that contributed to the increase was the second injury fund here in the state that increased, almost doubled, went from $5,533 to $9,951. We did get a little bigger dividend refund this year versus last, but then on the flip side of that, some of the individual line item rates on classification have changed and gone up too. But as always, we try to look and find the best policy. We did change general liability to Midwest Public Risk. They also offer a workers' compensation policy, and we have been in discussions with them about what we may be able to do next year with them, so that we can come up with a more competitive bid. But for this year, the best policy for the city is with Missouri Rural.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. Any questions, comments, or discussion for Mr. Christie? It's insurance. I don't know you guys are talking about insurance. Okay. Nothing at all for Mr. Christie. All in favor of resolution number, for passage of resolution number 14-R-22? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0-0. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful job, Daniel.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, I'm sorry. I got our.